of the Black and Blue FF preview, a breakdown of the NFC North. Well, Pack on top, man. We knew this moment was coming. We knew Green Bay was going to crush Chicago. We didn't know it was going to closing moments of the game. I mean, you can't write a better script than that. Green Bay just crushing all the Chicago fans once again. It's been fun seeing the meltdowns at the end of the game because they were on a run. Chicago's got a great team there. Caleb Williams is a good quarterback. And I'm not going to get too arrogant because we're going to play them at Soldier Field coming up, and that's going to be another battle. The NFC North is at the moment with the black and the blue division. Detroit's having to make a push. Minnesota's staying alive, and Chicago and Green Bay are not only but essentially the entire NFC. So it's going to be a fun race to watch. This week it's the Denver Broncos, the Mile High City. It's going to be a battle in Colorado. The weather's supposed to be great somehow. Colorado's been really sunny. That's too. I live in Colorado. 2.5 point favorites on Green Bay this week. Visiting favorites. It's been quite the talk here in Colorado. Like, how dare they do that? Do they not know who we are? And they're also expecting a lot of these out in the crowd today. A lot of Packers fans expected to show up at Mile High because Green Bay travels so well. And the focus has been on Super Bowl 32, but hey, what about Super Bowl 31? Right? The comparison between this Packers roster and the 90s Packers roster and just the vibes about, secular motion. And we're coming back at Super Bowl 45. Super Bowl 45 is the last one we won. Super Bowl 60 coming up. It just seems like Green Bay should win this, right? I mean, that's where we're at with it. But when we break down at the fantasy, Jordan Love, the Toyota-thon is on. The Jordan Love-a-thon is on. He's just simply Mr. December. He is everything that Brett Favre used to be in December, ironically enough. It should be that way if you're a Packer. It should be that way if you're a Chicago Bear. You should be the better team in December, at least till Chicago goes and gets their dome. But is Jordan Love the best quarterback in the NFL? I think there's a great case to be made that he is. He's playing like the best quarterback in the NFL. They're having to put more responsibility on him due to Josh Jacobs' injury, and he's delivered, and he's going to continue to deliver because he's got Reed, he's got Watson, he's got Dobbs, he's got reliable guys, he's got Wicks that can pop up and have a good game. So there are tons of options available for him right now, and it's showing that they're letting loose right now. It's like they don't want to reveal their whole playbook or something until later in the season. But I think you can trust Jordan Love in this match. I think you can trust Bo Nix. I do expect them to both be sacked in this game. I think the defenses are going to play really well in this game for a defense and special team standpoint about Green Bay, and that's why they have the spread. But these are two elite defenses, and as I've stated multiple times, it's December. It's time for good defenses. It's time for running games. That's where we're at right now. That's what football becomes after Thanksgiving, and I expect that. So I expect Jordan Love to get sacked on some big plays from great defensive ends over there, and Benito, as well as Cooper. Sometimes they bring Singleton. There's a lot of ways they can bring pressure over there with Vance Joseph. So play defense is swelling. He's been known his whole career for his incredible ability to recover. I imagine he's going to play in this game, but I do expect to see more Wilson. I think they get over 100 combined yards in this game. That's where this game's going to be won against these defenses, is slowing down that pass rush, running the ball. You're going to see a lot of running in the first half. If you wanted to dig some kind of I do expect RJ Harvey to get a touchdown. It's just kind of been a theme. Rookies are starting to ball out. This is, after you get into 10, 11, 12, the rookies understand the playbook. They understand the NFL. They're more ingrained into it. They know their teammates now. All those things become a factor, and we're good to go. So I do trust Harvey. Jacobs, man, I'm leery if you have him. Wilson, if you need a spot start for some reason, you could probably go pick him up. Wait till word gets out till we get official word what's going to happen Sunday. It is an afternoon game, so you will have to plan accordingly. As I talked about, you're going to start Christian Watson, you're going to start Jalen Reed, and Romeo Dobbs is touchdown dependent, but if you're in a deep, deep league, 3 wide receivers, 2 flex, he does have some flexibility there. But Reed and Watson are going to become the go-to people in this offense, particularly with Robert Kraft out. Sutton and Bryant on the other side. Sutton, you're probably going to start. Bryant, dependent, deep league, 3 wide receivers, 2 flex. You can go ahead and play Bryant in that situation. Parsons is going to influence this game. Green Bay, The coaching staff has been very adamant about why hasn't Parsons received any holding calls this season, and that's something they complained to the league office about, and it's something I expect to see. Even if it's not a sack, you could expect a penalty on a move a big kill a big play because of a holding penalty. I expect there to be some calls to go in Michael Parsons this way after a season of their not or yeah the whole season he hasn't gotten one. So it's either going to be a sack or he's going to get a hold call. Expect Parsons to play well in IDP leagues. Expect Alex Singleton to play well as well for the Denver Broncos. And like I said, somebody's going to get a sack on this defense. I don't know if you want to put it all on Benito or Parsons, but somebody's going to step up and make a big play, if not both of them. And yeah, man, with a 42.5 point over under, that's 6 touchdowns. I think that's going to be difficult. We'll see how that comes together. I don't know where, unless it's a defensive touchdown, I don't think the offenses are going to put up 6 touchdowns. Even as much as I'm in love with Jordan Love, even as much as I like Bo Nix, I expect both of these teams to these defenses. So with that, let's go look at the Chicago Bears. Here's Andy Behrens breaking it down.
Well, it was a classic trap game for the Bears against the lowly, disrespected Packers a week ago, and they let it slip away. They let one get away. No, obviously, it was a huge game for the Bears, and they've got the Packers again in 2 weeks. But sandwiched in between those meetings with the Packers, we have a very frisky Cleveland defense. Cleveland on the season allowing just 6.8 yards per pass attempt, 3.8 yards per rush. This is a good D. It's Myles Garrett chasing the sack record. He's unstoppable, like a Balrog, basically. So he's going to be a huge problem for a Bears offensive line that has played relatively well, and for Caleb Williams, who's done a very good job of avoiding sacks, particularly long, drive killing sacks so far this year. The Bears are going to have their work cut out for them. Also, this is going to be a cold game. Temperatures somewhere between 10 and 14 degrees. There's talk of wind chills that are sub-zero. I'm not going to be there. You will never. You couldn't pay me to sit in an environment like that. But it's going to be a glorious game to watch. I don't think the weather conditions outside of being extremely cold are going to be that worrisome. It's one of those games where if you want to sit the kickers, that might be fine. On the Bears side, it's going to be tough sledding for DeAndre Swift, for Kyle Managai. Again, this is a very good run defense for Cleveland. They have to be respected. The Bears are going to attempt to run it relentlessly. Rome Odunze's status not yet known as I'm speaking. He's dealing with a stress fracture. It might make all the sense in the world to give him another week. Luther Burden played great in Rome's absence a week ago against the Packers. Burden finished with 70 scrimmage yards. He's good. He's really, really good. He looks like a primary target. Colston Loveland looks like a primary target. DJ Moore, not so much. That could flip. That could change in any given week. DJ Moore is still a very good player, but he is not getting particularly interesting targets right now. So I'm ranking Burden ahead of him finally. Probably should have been doing it all along, but I'm ranking Burden ahead of him for the first time this year for fantasy. Anyway, should be a good one. Should be a cold one. Let's go. Bear down.
All right. I think I just heard Andy say that the Bears aren't the hottest team in football now. Or if I didn't, I should have, I would think. Detroit, however, got back on the winning track. They beat the Cowboys 44-30 in a game that was much closer than the score indicates. Detroit had the time of possession was held by Dallas, but it was close. Dallas had 31-23, Detroit had 28-37. Where Detroit won the game was in the turnover margin. Detroit had 3 turnovers that they got from Dallas. Dallas got none from Detroit. Dallas fumbled the ball 3 times, lost 2, and threw an interception. Detroit was clean. That really makes a difference. Detroit had 5 sacks on the night, 6 tackles for loss. But the big story was the pressures. And we'll get into that when I talk about the defensive players. But Detroit did have 20 pressures on the night. Now, pressure is where you're hurrying the quarterback, you're getting him a little bit off of where he wants to be. So you got to say Detroit wins that one quite a bit. All right. Third down, fourth down conversions. Detroit still needs work. They did well on third down conversions. They held Dallas to 5 of 16, but they gave up 2 of 2 on fourth down. Detroit only had 8 third downs to convert. They converted 3 of them, just under half. They didn't try any fourth downs, so they were 0 for 0. Now, passing yards and passing yards allowed. Detroit gave up 326 passing yards to Dak Prescott, primarily because he was playing from behind, and he's got good receivers. In the meantime, Detroit threw for 299 passing yards. So Goff had a good game. Um, the rushing yards, Detroit had 109, Dallas had 91. Again, the stats are pretty even. So, what are the highlights of the game? Detroit fans have grown accustomed to seeing Jahmyr Gibbs break the long runs this year, but that wasn't the case in this game. Gibbs did score 3 touchdowns, but they were all 13, 10, and 1. They were short compared to David Montgomery, who I think had a 35-yard touchdown run. Montgomery broke the long one this time. It was a hard-fought game. Detroit didn't put it away until late in the game. And like I said, Detroit still had issues on 3rd and 4th down. That does have to get corrected. So that gives the Lions coaching staff something to clean up, all right? Their offense was humming. It was humming very well, all right? Um, Amon Ra actually played in this game, which surprised me. I didn't think he'd play this week, maybe not next week, but he played, and he played most of the game. I think he got 92% of the snaps. So I don't believe he was as effective as he normally is, but he did catch 6 of 9 targets for 92 yards. Didn't score, but he did move the chains, which is always good. Now, as was the case in week 13, when Amon Ra went out with an injury, we got to see Jameson Williams actually step up and play extremely well. He also had 9 targets, and he caught 6 for 92 yards. Didn't score because all the scoring was done by the Lions running backs, it seems like. But Jameson Williams had a larger role than it had been having earlier in the year. I love the way that he played, and I think there was a revelation in this game. Khalif Raymond was out. Khalif Raymond typically plays 3rd receiver for the Lions, and he returns kicks. So in his stead, Tom Kennedy did not get on the field very much. I don't know if he got maybe 1 or 2 targets all night, but he didn't catch anything. But I think he had 146 return yards. He did extremely well, and he split the kickoff returns. So if you're in a league that pays for return yardage, you might want to get Tom Kennedy because he's playing extremely well there. Isaac Tesla came a cat's whisker from having a 3 TD day. He finished the game with 3 targets, 2 catches, 20 yards, and a touchdown, 12-yard touchdown. But he got deep, and Goff saw him and threw to him, but Goff was off on the throw about maybe a foot too far, and Tesla couldn't get to it, but it wouldn't matter anyway. It didn't count as a target because there was holding on the play by the Lions. So, and that was accepted. But I mean, no holding, the throws on target, that's a touchdown. And he also had his 3rd target was called out of bounds, but he was just barely out of bounds, and he caught it in the end zone. He made a diving catch in the end zone, which would have been another touchdown. So I got to say, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Isaac Tesla. I think he's a great player for us. So now we got to see more targets. I want to see 6 or 7 targets for Tesla, but as long as Khalif Raymond's out, Tesla is a viable wide receiver 3 flex play. So you may want to consider him because he's probably a free agent on your roster, on your league. So do that. Defensively, it was a back and forth game. Detroit maintained the lead most of the game, but they couldn't quite put Dallas away until the very end of the game. Jack Campbell led the Lions with 12 tackles, 6 solos. So you want to get him in your lineup every week. He was helped by DJ Reed, who had 8 solo tackles and a pick. And two other players are worth mentioning. Uh, Avant Avante Maddox also had 8 tackles, 6 solo, and Aquadine Muhammad had just 3 tackles, but they were all sacks. You gotta love sacks. Now, while ostensibly Aiden Hutchinson had a slow game, 3 tackles, 2 solos, he had a season high 10 pressures. Now, most leagues don't give you scoring for pressures, but it does impact the game. So I'm still keeping Aiden in because he could turn those pressures into sacks at any point. Now, there was a sour note. Brian Branch went down with an Achilles injury. He may be gone for the season. That's what I'm expecting. But what about this week? What are we expecting for this week? This week, the Lions face a very tough matchup. They have to travel to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. And it should be a great offensive matchup. The over-under is 54.5 in this game, 55 with some bookies. So they're expecting a lot of scoring there. Uh, the Rams are the favorite. I think they're 5.5 point favorites. So it's going to be a high-scoring team. It's game by both teams. So there's another piece of motivation you have to be aware of. In case you don't remember, Detroit got Jared Goff by trading Matt Stafford to the Rams. They got Goff and they got, I think, 2 or 3 first and second round picks. Jack Campbell was one of them, but the big one was Jameer Gibbs. So there's going to be a lot of motivation for Goff to show up, show the Detroit fans why he was a better pick for Detroit than Matt Stafford was. So I think it has all the earmarks of an explosive game. So you want the offensive players in there. When I look at what the Rams have done recently, they had a good game against Tampa Bay's running backs, but Christian McCaffrey and Kenny Walker and Jack Charbonnet scored 49.3 points combined. All right. I think McCaffrey and Jameer Gibbs are very equivalent players, but I also think that Kenny Walker the third and David Montgomery are equivalent players. So if we need power, we've got it with Montgomery. We need explosiveness. We got that with Gibbs. I'm looking for those guys to play pretty well this week. I really am. I think Detroit's 2 running backs combined will get over 30 PPR points. Gibbs is a starter. I think Montgomery's a flex play. I don't think he's an RB2, but he's a flex play. Now, he is RB2 on the year, but that's just because he's been pretty consistent all year. He hasn't missed games either. And again, remember that this is going to be a highly motivated game for Goff. Both quarterbacks have great wide receivers, very great running backs, and I just think both quarterbacks are great players too. So I think this is going to be a shutout. Defensively, I'm starting the DBs on both teams. I think the DBs safeties are going to get tackle opportunities in this game because there's going to be passing in this game. I'm also going Campbell. You got to start Campbell every week. Probably not starting Anzalone this week, but I am putting Hutchinson in the lineup. Now that's it for Detroit, but I want to ask JC, what do you got from the land of 10,000 lakes this week?
What's up, everybody? This is JC from the Sports Affiliation. I'm here, always talking about them Minnesota Vikings. This past week was pretty good, right? We saw, a 31-0 win against one of the worst teams in the NFL, the Washington Commanders. They show up in Minnesota, beat up, not looking great, right? Their defense is awful. Jaden McDaniels got hurt again. Mariota had to come in the third, but I just wanted to do a little quick. This one's gonna be a little bit quicker than normal. JJ McCarthy, he looked good enough, serviceable, I should say. He didn't look great. He didn't look excellent. Still had some mediocre passes. 2 passes that were great that I saw that were really, really great. Both the Jordan Addison on deeper out routes. But once again, Justin Jefferson not really involved, happened to be a decoy. You see a lot more running. The touchdowns that came this week were close in the red zone. So within, I believe, 10 yards, I think 10 yards out, all of the touchdowns came from even the rushing touchdown. I maybe even been out 15 yards, but yeah, two touchdowns to Josh Oliver. And those were the only catches Oliver had were both touchdowns, and two catches for Hawkinson, one of them being a touchdown. Um, both were very open. One of them to Oliver was kind of in double coverage. That was a good pass, a little fastball. But the one to Hawkinson, man, Hawkinson, there was three defenders on him, and they all tackled each other, and Hawkinson basically walked in. It was pretty ridiculous. This It's embarrassing. Washington should be embarrassed about how bad they played. But Kevin O'Connell did one thing right. When we were talked about last week, is how Kevin O'Connell needs to slow this game down for JJ McCarthy and dumb this playbook down for him to be successful. And he did. If you watch the game, you see McCarthy literally goes to his first read every time. And when he doesn't do that, those are when he makes his mistakes. If he doesn't go to his first read and you see him scramble, that's what I want to see from him, or throwing the ball. He didn't commit any turnovers, which was nice. There were four sacks, but and only three penalties, which is great. So this team made they fixed a lot of the issues. Um, but we got to go see that going into next week. The defense looked absolutely insane. Van Ginkel with interception almost took it to the house a little bit too slow. Had Terry McLaurin catch him. But on that play, that's where McDaniels got thrown to the ground and got hurt. Um, and then the Commanders just couldn't get going. The defense is legit what kept us in this game. Three turnovers they committed, which is amazing. You got two interceptions and a forced fumble recovery. It was a great game. Love to see that from the defense and the offense. Man, they had the ball over 30 minutes this week, so we want to see that from this team. They have to continue to be like this. But I'm telling you, this defense is what is keeping us in games, what keeps us alive, what helps us win. We have a very, very, very strong defense. Yes, the secondary gets beat, but the issue is they get so tired because the offense can't stay on the field. It's the time of possession, the time that they are on the field, the defense is on the field, that causes them to be, slower, or allow touchdowns to happen. But yeah, this week they put us in amazing situations to where JJ McCarthy could be successful, or this offense could be successful. But I am not gonna jump on this bandwagon. I am not a JJ McCarthy truther, so I want to see it from him for the next 3 weeks. I want to see him go out this week. It's an away game or in Dallas. It's gonna be a tough week. You're gonna see a lot of throwing from Dallas. There's gonna be a lot. If this defense can step up and stop them, we can get a win. But the offense, Kevin O'Connell needs to go out there and drive this offense like he did this past week. Yes, we're playing against a tougher opponent, but that secondary is a little bit on the lower end, right? We see a lot of teams go out and throw against Dallas. So if McCarthy can be successful, if we can actually get JJ involved, and it's not just our tight ends in the red zone, will be great. But the one thing we need to see is the defense not having to be on the field the whole game. They will make a lot of stops. They will commit turnovers. So we're going to be good there with the defense. Continue to fire up Cashman. Continue to fire up people like Van Ginkel. We saw him get the interception. That was insane. But it was very level this last week for tackles. A lot of people we got a lot of assisted tackles this last week. So, which is great. Team effort. We want to see that from the defense, getting a bunch of tackles. But your guys like Redmond and Harrison Smith had a good game. He had an interception this past week too, and it was crazy. Like the Harrison Smith interception came, and then we got the ball, and then on the next drive, the defense was out there. You see Van Ginkel get an interception. It's back to back interceptions on defensive drives. So I love to see that from our guys. But Cashman, every week he's getting about 10 tackles total. So if you fire him up, if you have him, you're very happy. This week, we're in playoffs. We're playing against Dallas in Dallas. It's tough. I'm firing up Addison. I think he's kind of the main target. We're seeing a lot of confidence in JJ throwing to him. J Addison does have a little bit of dropping issues, which kind of sucks, but Addison is, I feel, the main target as Justin Jefferson's being double or triple covered. So I'm gonna fire up Addison. You're most likely firing up Justin Jefferson. You can't not. You drafted him so high. You just have to keep running with your elite players, even though they're just not hitting right now. Especially with JJ not being able to go to him because he can't go through his progressions properly. Unless they can scheme JJ open, JJ or Justin Jefferson, if they can scheme him open in these little short dump off routes and let him do work with his feet because he is fast and he can juke and he can do all sorts of stuff. So they need to figure out a way to get him involved that way. Still missing that. Aaron Jones looked like the guy last week. We could see it again this week. Um, Even though he didn't get a touchdown, he ran the ball more and was more effective when running the ball. But Mason is the guy in the red zone. He's going to be the guy if they're within the 5 yards or 10 yards, they're going to most likely go to him because he does push through that line a little better. He's a little stronger. But what do I expect from this game? The last 3 games of this year, I kind of expect them to be losses. I want to see growth from McCarthy. If we can see growth from McCarthy, then next year we don't have to worry about going out and trying to get a quarterback. We can kind of build around him and continue to show him or continue to grow him and let him be successful. But we have to see him grow in these next 3 games. Otherwise, what are you going to do? I mean, obviously you stick with him or do you trade him? There's a lot of rumors going around right now that I think they're just rumors. There's no way we could afford it, but that maybe Justin Jefferson goes out and tries to get Joe Burrow to come over to the Vikings. I don't think we could ever afford it because of the situation we got put in after this last year that Kwesi put us in. But I don't think we can afford it. But possibilities are out there. What we'd have to do to trade for him would be crazy. But I just don't see it. This week, we're just going to focus on trying to go out there and being better. That's all we can do. If we don't get a win, that's cool. I'm okay with it. The rest of if we take losses the rest of the year, I'm okay with it. We get a good draft pick. But like I said, I just want to see this team progressing and growing. You want to see McCarthy grow and you want to see Kevin O'Connell teaching this kid properly and helping him to be successful. We would need Kevin O'Connell to be that better coach and not just want to have this crazy playbook which isn't working with a JJ right now. And we also saw that with Brosmer, right? So it's the playbook. This week, fire up Blake Cashman, fire up Will Reichard, fire up Van Ginkel. Who else can we fire up? I mean, if you really need to fire up Harrison Smith, he's probably not going to give you a lot. You have the potential for them interceptions. I think he wants to go out big. Like right now he has the most interceptions by an active player in the NFL. So I think he wants to try to continue to build on his stats before he goes out. He will be a Hall of Famer, but continue to grow those stats. I think you see a lot from Harrison Smith this week too, especially because Cowboys are going to have to throw it this week. Fire up Addison. You might as well fire up Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. I don't know what you're going to get from them, but it's tough, man. This offense is tough. So, anyways, like I said, I just want to see growth from this team before we go out this season. 3 more games, right? We're at Dallas. Back home the last 2 games against, the Bears and the Packers, which is going to be tough. But if we can show growth, we're going to be good. But anyways, before we get out of here, I want to say I appreciate everyone coming to hang out with us on the Black and Blue Fantasy Football Show, where I get to work every single week with Iggy and Greg Kellogg and Andy Behrens. It's an absolute blast covering the NFC North. We appreciate everyone. Make sure you guys go check out the website, which is right up here in the corner. Check it out. Sportsaffiliation.com. So much information coming out there. So just check it out. Check out the website. Also, make sure you like and subscribe and turn on them notifications for YouTube. There's so much content that comes out throughout the week and will continue to go on throughout the playoffs, the Super Bowl, and even into the off season. We also have, basketball. We got basketball content as well. So check out everything over there on the website. Check out the YouTube. We got a Discord coming up pretty soon here. Also, if you want to get some swag, I mean, we got some swag. This is from the Expo this past year, but there's swag up on the website, affiliatedswag.printful.me. So just check that out. A lot of fun stuff over there as well. More coming out. Yeah, appreciate everybody. Much love. Peace out. Let's go Vikes.